all queer souls. You might be thinking, I thought queer was a slur. I just got LGBTQ plus to finally flow off my tongue, and now you're making us use this problematic word? It's a fair question. For those of us who have always thought, why would I even want to be normal? The word queer has never been pejorative, no matter how many times it was hurled at us from car windows. But polite society has definitely heard the message, thankfully, that queer is not a word for straight people to use to refer negatively to anyone who doesn't fit the mold and might not be masculine enough, or in the case of women, too masculine, and therefore worthy of scorn, ridicule, and violence. But for those of us on this chancel, and I suspect many of you Unitarians and questioning people, the classic textbook definition of queer, strange, odd, just plain different, denotes a status that we absolutely welcome. In a world of increasing conformity, commodification, and injustice, we Unitarians love the iconoclast, the weirdo, the protester, the one who will stand up against the odds and say her piece. I think one of the reasons that Pride celebrations have taken over the entire month of June and are championed by so many straight allies is just because of it's such a massive celebration of joy, of the freedom to pursue love and happiness wherever you find it, and an affirmation of the fundamental American right to bodily autonomy. Everyone who comes out for Pride, every time and everywhere it's celebrated, embraces the belief that each human being experiences the world differently and can only themselves feel in their body what that body should be, what makes it feel good, and how it should move through this very messy world. When we celebrate Pride, we stand with those like us and those very different from us and say, I don't have to, and in fact, I can never fully understand how your brain works and why some things are essential for you that don't make sense to me. But I 100% love you, and I love that you are following your path toward happiness. Unitarian Universalists are on the front lines of fighting for so many issues where bodily autonomy is the cause. Reproductive rights. Only people whose bodies have the ability to grow a clump of cells in their abdomen into a fetus should be able to decide whether or not they want to have another living creature feeding off of their bodies, and they must have unfettered access to the full range of medical alternatives to define good health for themselves. Racial justice. People with black bodies, brown bodies, and every pigment that is perceived as non-white know just how central bodily autonomy is to fulfilling the promise and freedom of equality. Whether it is basic access to spaces and opportunities, freedom to move through space without suspicion, surveillance, and hostile policing, and freedom to be an individual who has a multitude of dimensions beyond what is assumed by the white gaze. Religious freedom. The drive for ecstatic connection to the unknowable has been such a profound human need for all of recorded time. We have to acknowledge that people must be allowed to do all kinds of seemingly crazy things in a religious context that we personally don't understand, as long as they don't harm others. Controlled substances reform. Again, the drive for ecstatic connection to the unknowable has been such a profound human need for all of recorded time that we must allow people to do all kinds of crazy things that we might not understand. Gender identity, gender ambiguity, gender transition, and even gender retransition. I have a disclosure to make. I somehow got it in my head 30 plus years ago that I should have a certain kind of body that, at the time, I did not have. I spent countless hours, thousands and thousands of dollars on gyms, yoga studios, and specialized nutrition products to alter my body in a way that I thought would make for a happier life. Our patriarchal society fully approves of that intervention, medical and social manipulation of the body, because I was born with a penis, and through the process, I ended up presenting more conventionally masculine. That's what felt right at the time, and despite some ambivalence about my massive devotion to time and resources to vanity, I still feel good in my body in a way that I wish everyone could. I haven't experienced gender dysphoria, but I absolutely understand being somewhere on a gender spectrum. Once you've embraced the inexplicable drive to put your mouth on another man's mouth, you really do have to acknowledge that you have moved a few steps on the gender spectrum away from conforming to gender expectations, and you really feel free to question a whole lot of other conventional gender roles. Listen, if you're a straight cisgender man who enjoys reading and cultural outings, and your wife makes her own decisions, according to the increasingly anti-intellectual white Christian nationalist movement that is controlling the Supreme Court, the House of Representatives, and the national governments of more and more countries worldwide, you too are a cuck liberal queer who is destroying traditional values. It's absolutely no coincidence that the surprisingly large increase over the past 2 decades of the percentage of people who identify themselves as LGBTQ+, describe themselves as being somewhere in between, bisexual and/or non-binary, because they may be living seemingly conventional lives, but deep down inside know how complex and changeable their feelings about where their bodies reside on sexual and gender spectrums. Literally no one fits the mold that white Christian nationalists want to lock us into. Even those hypocrites can't do it. But Unitarian Universalism's 7 principles inherently call us to queerness, to love and fight for those whose choices we might not understand, to see each and every one of us in the fight for bodily autonomy. Its first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Third, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Fourth, free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Fifth, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. Sixth, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Seventh, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. So yes, we who are trans, non-binary, lesbian, gay, bi, intersex, and questioning are all queer souls. But we, all of us you use, are all queer souls. We're all queer souls. Say it with me. We're all queer souls. Thank you, and thank you for celebrating with us today. And now, my friend and fellow AQS leader, Lauren Dorr.
Good morning. My name is Lauren, and I use she, her pronouns. Today, speaking about, are we the other or an ally? Or are we the others and allies? And why are we still singing for our lives? Don't you love the name All Queer Souls? I picture all on one side and souls on the other, both parts beside us queers with an embrace of who we are. And I'm so glad that we could be here together to celebrate Pride Sunday and all of our hard work for many decades and the rights we have to say out loud, I am queer. Freedom to wear whatever articles of clothing or jewelry we want and how we want. to go together to family and work events, the right to be queer and keep your job, including in the military, the right to marry and have 2 white dresses, 2, being able to be included in your partner's health insurance and estate plans. We need to cherish our rights and freedoms while we still have them. Do you remember hearing for many years, those gays want special rights? Yes, those same special rights that most people have, and they don't have to think about them. They don't even have to ask. To visit their loved one in a hospital, to hold their partner's hand in public without fear of violence, to adopt a child they are raising, to buy property together and retain the right to live in their own home even after their partner dies. I want what others are just given. Why, as a lesbian, should I have fewer rights, rights that most people don't notice the privilege of having? Why is my wanting what others have a threat to them? More and more we hear of rights that we once thought we all had gained and could count on for safety. Those rights are being legislated out of existence, as is our safety. Not just for queers, also notably for all women, half of our population. I heard recently that by recognizing the complexity of the facets of society, our diversity, we've been able to be divided by people who believe that I, for one, do not have the right to live my life in my way, to exist as I am. I'm scared of the way politicians are legislating every aspect of our beings, our lives. I don't want to be scared, and I need your help. I need allies with me out in the world as I am for others. I want to feel proud of who we are, and I want to feel safe, not either proud or safe. There are lots of divisive and hurtful words used against people who are portrayed as the other. Usually this may make the speaker or those in a crowd feel better about themselves, superior even, as in, I am okay, I fit into this crowd, therefore all of society, and I am accepted. But not that other. Keep them out. They see themselves as central to society, making decisions about others around them and us. It is easy to other people. I'm using other as a verb. It is easy to emphasize and push the others off into a corner, to be neglected, harassed, or trapped. And we can all be the other in some way. As Unitarian Universalists, we are the other in some ways, and we all have the obligation to say something. As Martin Niemöller, a prominent German Lutheran minister who said nothing, later found out, as he wrote in 1946. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I fear they will come for us. We must not let them pick us apart and splinter us off from each other. Will we say no? And we can flip that division around and see how we might all be the other in some way. We can be united in accepting and enjoying a variety of different qualities. We can enjoy the strength and power of speaking out and saying, I am the other too. We can all see the parts of the other in ourselves, accepting those other parts, enjoying them, and seeking out our connections to others and all of their other parts. We all need allies. When I was coming out years ago, we found many opportunities to sing our second hymn today, named by Holly Near as Singing for Our Lives. a simple naming of mixed groups who stand up for themselves with others. The language has evolved. The lines still vibrate for our times. We are young and old together. We are a justice-seeking people. We are gay and straight together. We are a gentle, loving people. Why do we need to keep singing for our lives? Come join me. Be an all queer souls ally. Let's build this multifaceted land together. How? In ordinary events, when you hear something or see something, you know what to do. Say something. Even if it is as simple as, I am uncomfortable with the way you spoke negatively about that other person. You won't change them, and you won't be silent, nor silently allowing division and hurt to continue while you watch. Remember during the AIDS crisis, still an issue in communities of color, we often heard the phrase, silence equals death. People's silence really does mean someone could die and does die. That little negative comment can start an awful avalanche of events. We know how the others have been targeted, hurt, and killed. Please speak up now, and later you won't have to say, if only I had. And if you think of someone who might be queer or differently abled, or an indigenous person, or a black person, or a brown person, or an Asian person, or a formerly incarcerated person, or a person who is down on their luck, what would it be like to be in their skin right now, right here, or here next Sunday? Do you wonder what it would be like to be the only fill-in-the-blank person in a group? Some people are almost constantly in new situations or are constantly seen as the other. Most people may be uncomfortable with a person who they perceive as the other. This is an innate instinct to be alert in a new situation. How do I talk with this person? How do I not offend them when I really want to understand them? This can be uncomfortable, even with its caring intention. How do we move through this discomfort to connection? Start by recognizing the discomfort in new situations. We've all been in a new situation. This is a new situation, All Souls' first queer-led Pride service. I invite you to notice others in your meetings and gatherings. Next time you notice this, imagine that person's vulnerability in that situation. Will you be there for them? Does someone who is new here and has difficulty with moving or hearing or understanding our language or our customs or knowing how to fit in, does that person need to ask for help? Or, as an open and welcoming congregation, do we recognize they may be having difficulty, and do we welcome them and include them and offer to help? We all want to belong. Can we be a bridge for someone else who is seeking to be a part of us here at All Souls? Our lives are on the line in the next election. I am scared. We don't share a common source of information, and some voters are not getting the message that most people in America are not as bothered by people's differences as legislators think and take advantage of in getting votes and making laws. We all need allies. Rather than accepting or not challenging whatever legislators and their followers do, we need to just say no. We all need to say, sing, and hear many united voices saying, you and I, we are one connected people, and we all want to be treated with respect and dignity, to be seen for our inherent worth. We all want to belong in a variety of communities, enjoy our diversity, and still live openly with our multidimensional differences. We all want to be included as one people, not singled out for our differences and chipped away from our larger society and given fewer rights, which leads to less safety. You and I, we all need safety. And I want to be able to stop singing for our lives. What actions can you take as an All Queer Souls ally? Speaking up, it is always important. Joining a letter-writing campaign like You the Vote, or contacting decision makers. Vote, or register to vote if not yet registered. Our votes do count and need to be counted. Speak to a person you know who is queer. Ask them what are their concerns and how can you help? And stand next to and with all of us here who are queer. Today, stepping out and joining the big, colorful, exclusive parade, which started in 1970 as a march against repression and violence, and for recognition of us as people, and for our dignity. Note that safety is top of mind for Pride organizers everywhere. Let's talk about some more things we can do together down at our coffee hour and on into the future. I want for all of us at All Souls and far beyond to feel proud of who we all are, and for all of us to feel safe, to be the other and allies. Please join with me and with All Queer Souls as allies, relying on each other so that we can all live in peace and in safety. Offering blessings to us all.